So one of my friends on Facebook has inquired, this is just some poppy seeds, about how to make slow bread. So I just emptied my container of the last little bit of my dough, and I'm going to show you how to make Artisan slow bread. So this is just the basic recipe, and hopefully it'll shed. It doesn't need to be kneaded or anything, but this is what the dough looks like after it's been sitting in my refrigerator for 2-3 days. And so here we go. Let's try to do this. So for this recipe, you're going to need 3 cups of warm water, which is what I'm getting way over here where you can't see me yet. 3 cups. Done. And this is the way I do mine, just to alleviate having to do a whole bunch of different things. So in here I've got 3 cups of warm water, and to that I should have pulled this stuff out first, but it's pretty within reach. I am going to add 2 tablespoons of, it doesn't matter what kind of dry yeast you have, but this is fast rising yeast. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of that to this mixture of water. So 1, 2. This is just one way of making it. There's a couple other ways that I do it sometimes, but this is the way that I've been messing with for the last week or so. Okay, so we're going to give that a little, no, actually we're not. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. Sounds like a lot, but this is a lot of dough we're making. And some people even put 2 tablespoons of salt. So that's 1. And normally you would not put salt in the same container with your yeast, because sometimes your yeast doesn't like it. But I'm usually a dump method type of cooker. And also I personally like to add a tablespoon or so of sugar. So I'm going to put my sugar in my water. It's up to you on whether or not you want that in there. You decide. And I'm going to mix all of this stuff together. And I wonder if I have a pause button on here. I don't think I do. So we're going to mix all of this stuff together really well for about a minute or so. Or you could, it might be easier to place this stuff in your flour so it's distributed evenly. But I like to do things the hard way, obviously. I thought that would be okay, but I just see that it's a little weird. But it's okay. This recipe is very forgiving, so it's very easy. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to add 6 cups of flour to my very tall container here. I'm going to pour my contents of my cup in here first, okay? Okay. Make sure everything's nice and mixed together. And if you guys notice, I didn't wash it out from my last dough that I just pulled out, and that's because this dough has a lot of good flavor in it. And it almost becomes like a sourdough starter, which is something that I like to do too. I like to keep my own starter. So eventually I will not have to use the fast yeast or the active dry yeast or any of that type of stuff. So very easy. I'm just kind of rubbing the dough off of the sides of the container to get it mixed into the water also. And off of the bottom. So it gets some of that nice sourdough flavor, which is very good. So I think that's pretty good. And to this, 3 cups of water. Ooh, I look like I left some good stuff in here. Waste not, want not. I'm gonna put all this stuff in my water. I want it all yummy. So here's the last part, promise. So to this, you're going to add 6 cups of flour. I suggest you stir each cup for the first few cups, because otherwise you might have clumps of dry yeast in your mixture in certain spots, which is what I ran into the last time. Which my dough still turned out beautiful, but I was like, look at these clumps. So I would suggest you go ahead and try to mix this stuff together. So that's one. And I am using one of the best flours for making breads or cakes or anything like that. King Arthur is awesome sauce. It has a higher gluten content. So those people who kind of have to stay away from gluten wouldn't be watching this anyways, but you don't want this because it has a higher gluten content, which makes your dough really chewy and, you know, very good to me. So that's 2 cups of flour. I'm just going to mix that a little bit. I think I'm out of the woods as far as trying to get pockets of dry yeast. So I think I can stop really making sure at this point. So I'm just going to mix it after I get the rest of it. I was at 2, yeah. Right, y'all? Right, y'all? 2. I'm not going to put that there because then you can't see it and you can't see the dough. So that was 2. That's 3. That's 4. It's probably going to be the rest of my flour. That's 5. And last one, just about the rest of the bag. That's 6. And if you guys are interested, what you can do is put a little rye flour, which I do put a little rye flour in there if you like that type of thing, or you can put a 1/2 cup of wheat flour. So total, you're going to have actually 6.5 cups of flour of your choice. So rye flour. Okay, so back with my spoon. Sorry. I'm just going to kind of give this a good little mix. And you're done. This sits out on your countertop for about 3 hours. It will shoot up. Like the mixture stops right about here. It will be almost to the top at 3 hours. And after that, you put it in the fridge. And then when you want to bake bread, you just take it out like I did this. And you let it sit on the countertop for 40 minutes. Put some stuff on it. Put some seasoning in it if you like it. And slice it. Make it pretty. And you pop it on a pizza stone. Or some kind of baking. If you have a Dutch oven, I want it because I don't have one. So I try to create my own little Dutch oven. But that's how the bakeries get their bread so nice and crispy on the outside. My oven's ready. Is they have a Dutch oven. So it helps with the steam. Develop your bread with steam. So if you have a casserole dish that's really deep with a lid, I would suggest you preheat your oven to 450 degrees with your dish in there. Put the lid, everything, put it in there, put it in the oven while it preheats like I just did mine. You take that dish out with some gloves on because you don't want to, go to the hospital, get some burns. You set it out, you take your parchment paper and you sprinkle it with cornmeal or flour and you put your bread on top of that. After you formed it into a ball, you just put it on top of there. And then what else do? You pick your paper up by 4 corners and you place it inside of your hot baking dish. You place it back in the oven for 30 minutes with the lid on. After 30 minutes, start your timer again. And it depends on your oven. It can take 15 to another 20, even a little bit more than 20 minutes to finish your bread off without the lid on. And then it looks great. It tastes great. I'll show you what it looks like in another video because I don't think I can pause on this, but I've tried. So that's it, Brandy. This is your video. I'm going to put it in your inbox and I might post it too. So, all right.